Good morning.
Good morning,
Here
Chiara.
we have Talia today with us from Napta Health, and I'm very excited and very proud to have you here on stage with me in this beautiful setting. And yes, very, very glad to have you here. And today we are gonna talk mainly about female health. It's a very touching and important topic to me, but I think also to many of the people listening to us today. And yes, Napta Health is a beautiful organization here in the UAE, and Natalia is now gonna tell us a bit more about the company, but also about your own journey and what brought you into the whole realm of female health. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Chiara. It's so nice to meet you in person as well. Yeah, I joined NAPTA Health almost 6 months ago now as their head of strategy to help grow our footprint in the GCC. We are a women's health company, so we are a physical clinic in Dubai with an online platform as well to be able to improve women's health and also make it more accessible to more women in MENA, with the idea that you should look at your health as something preventative and proactive as opposed to going to see your doctor with something acute. So hopefully we're being able to do this step by step. So it's nice to meet you and talk about it a little bit more.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So, how many years has Napta Health been in the space? How has it evolved? Because I literally went a few days ago to your physical space, and it was a real pleasure to see and experience a clinic that, first of all, does not feel like a clinic because it really feels like a home, like it's homey. It makes you feel good, but at the same time, it gives you so many different sections onto which you can tackle different health aspects. And yeah, at the same time, I found out that before this was just opened recently, and before you were more of a telehealth platform.
So NAPTA has been kind of brewing in Sophie Smith, the founder's mind, for almost 5 years. So it's been in research and development for 5 years, with the clinic only opening last year. Actually, Sophie coined the term hybrid health, which is essentially being able to use traditional healthcare systems, which is, seeing a doctor physically and having that physical relationship with the doctor, but also being empowered by all of the new technological advancements and innovation in health, which is, online as well, tools that you can take home, devices that you can use to track, and using the traditional and the more innovative ways of health and putting them together allows you to give healthcare to more people at a lower cost. And so the clinic is almost like the physical embodiment of this idea, where our clinicians and our doctors are there physically, but they're also empowered by new tools that are coming to the market, and then empowering their patients to come in and then be able to make decisions of their own with technology as well. So our app has a AI tool called Aya that plugs into your tracking devices like a watch, a Oura ring, whatever it is that you have. And with that information alongside the information of your doctor and your medical records, you can be best positioned to make health decisions for yourself and be your primary spokesperson as well, and feel like an equal when it comes to managing your health.
Okay, amazing, beautiful.
Before you go to the next question,
Yeah.
so would you like to have the cup with you?
You can remove it if you want.
Or you can put it on the table.
Okay.
Because there is like only
No worries.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, action.
Okay, this is actually beautiful. So when it comes to exactly customer use of your platform, how does it work? People can basically access your app, connect all their devices so that you have more data about them, and then how does it work?
So I guess the customer journey is you download the app. You put in all the information on your health goals that you want to achieve. So we have 22 health goals at NAPTA, which are from, trying to lose weight all the way to trying to have a baby, all the way down to wanting to manage your menopause symptoms, for example. Once that goal is tracked, you actually are put into contact with our care team, so you can see their profiles. You get an introduction to our care provider, which is our nurse. who will then slowly start to kind of build a plan for you. And you will access the information from your tracking devices, but also from our copyrighted and resources, like evidence-based resources from our AI bot as well, to then get you so that on the day-to-day you can manage your health without having to go into a clinic and do that. And then down the line, we will invite you in for an annual health assessment with our whole care team provider. And all those providers will work as a team. So you will see a GP, you will see a nutritionist, you'll see a psychologist, and a nurse. And that team works as a group. So there's no data being lost.
Yes.
Sometimes I think the main thing we hear with women is that they'll go do a blood test, and then that blood test will come back, and then they're not happy with what they're being told, so they'll go find someone else, and then everything kind of gets lost, and there's no really linkage.
There's no coherent information and also communication between the parties to give a clear picture of the situation to the patient.
Yeah, especially I think nowadays with chronic diseases, it doesn't start from one place. It's a holistic problem. So being able to have a team that knows you and that can and that team works as a team themselves to improve whatever symptoms you're having, and also being able to share, your therapist might pick up on something that your nutritionist hasn't picked up on, and being able to have that team under one roof as a one-stop shop is kind of what we're trying to create as an experience for our patients.
Yeah. Beautiful. So basically, depending on the concern of your patients, there is going into detail, basically a program that is created for them, or a different length of assistance that is basically decided through the application, and then depending on that, they have specific in-person appointment if needed, or otherwise it's just communication through the system.
And also appointments can be had as a teleconsultation if it's preferred, if they're not based in the UAE. Hopefully we'll be expanding soon to other countries, but
Amazing. All right, so you mentioned a very interesting thing that I would actually like to pick up, and it's the topic of chronic diseases. It's a very touching topic. It's a very mainstream concern nowadays, and when it comes to chronic diseases, we're almost basically talking about most of the diseases that we have nowadays. And there is some synonyms as well. One of them is maybe non-communicable diseases. One of them is a silent inflammation, but all of that kind of refers to and links back to chronic diseases. So when it comes to chronic diseases, basically any type of concern that starts from within the body, and it's an inflammation that happens at a cellular level and then develops in different ways. So the most kind of mainstream type of diseases that we have nowadays considered as chronic diseases are diabetes, for example. Maybe then I want also to have your feedback on this, but we live in the country, the UAE, generally speaking, the region, GCC, is a country and the region with the biggest number of diabetic people on earth, and the biggest majority also in terms of density in population, because we have 1 in 5 people here that suffer from diabetes, as opposed to the States, where also there they have big number of diabetic people, but it's 1 in 9, and here we have a highest incidence. So diabetic, again, has increased in the last generation from, I think it's a number from 5 million to 20 million worldwide. And then we have other type of chronic concerns such as cancer. Cancer is also an evolution of chronic disease that has increased as well, just from the 90s to nowadays, from 5 million to 8 million. Then we have digestive issues. That's a huge one as well. Exactly, everything related to how our gut is metabolizing and dealing with inflammation or creating inflammation. Another one, also chronic, starting as a chronic type of inflammation, is mental health related disorders. And also that since COVID time 2020, we had an increase in over 25 to 26% in the incidence of mental health disorders, starting from anxiety to depression to chronic fatigue, mental fatigue, and yes, and the numbers are just going up.
Yeah.
So it's a very touching topic for me as well, because again, we have a lot of technological medical advancement that is happening, but at the same time we have a lot of numbers still increasing, especially in this realm. So why do you think is that, and how are we able maybe to kind of address this situation before we actually develop any major chronic concern?
Well, I think the first thing is to share the data on how insane the growth of chronic disease has been compared to acute disease. In the 1900s, early 1900s, chronic diseases represented 15% of the type of diseases that women had. In early 2000s, that has gone up to 75% versus 15%. And by the end of the century, chronic diseases will represent 95% of diseases. So that's, first of all, staggering.
Crazy.
We at NAPTA always say that the healthcare system is not designed for chronic disease. It's designed for acute disease. You go see your doctor when you have a flu or a virus, but the inflammation that's building in is a slow, chronic disease is essentially a slow progression.
Yes.
Acute is something that happens quickly and is short, like a flu or a virus. So the ease of acute disease means that you're able to see it quickly and you can go see your doctor. The danger with chronic disease is that it's inflammation that happens slowly and, like you said, is a silent killer, and you only see the symptoms when it's actually gotten bad.
Exactly, so, and it's at a developed stage,
yes.
And it's just harder to tackle and solve.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that growth is obviously lifestyle and environment. And I'm sure you know all about lifestyle and how you can kind of change the way you eat. But another big part of it is the design of how the healthcare system works right now. And there is a big movement pushing towards preventative care, all these tracking devices, being able to kind of know what is more suited to your body. Personalization of care is also very important. And I think we will see an improvement, hopefully, with more, healthcare companies and people being more aware of their diet and their lifestyle. But I think this century has kind of shown that the healthcare system, in some ways, isn't designed for what our bodies has gone through with our own lifestyle and rapid urbanization.
Yes.
And I guess how we see taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, I think exactly what you say is absolutely right, and also maybe it's not just linked to, again, the healthcare system being inherently bad, but also maybe to the fact that as humankind literally have evolved over the last 2 centuries so much quicker as opposed to the whole entire time frame that humankind has originated. So the way we live in, the world we live in, and the way we live nowadays is just completely changed as opposed to how we used to live until 200-300 centuries ago. So that's why the pace of this change has been so rapid that also the way we are developing disease has changed as opposed to back in the days, because before the major cause of disease were actually, again, from the outside environment to the inside of our body. So that was happening through, again, infections from the outside, or literally major injuries, or again, viruses also, as you were saying. But nowadays it's more of a complete inversion, and the disease is happening from the inside out. So that is happening again for a combination of different factors that of course have to do with our lifestyle, and it's a complete different type of lifestyle that we live in nowadays as opposed to before, and also because the human body is so complex that it's so many different aspects that we need to consider and take care of, that now science is kind of more and more realizing that.
Yeah, it's catching up.
So yes, exactly. So the healthcare system was born in a way where, yes, traditional medicine was initially considered to be the very first quickest remedy. But nowadays we are actually realizing that, well, not really. Drugs and medicine somehow, not necessarily always, but they are maybe solving one issue, one concern, one symptom, but then they might actually create another parallel one, or they might trigger other effects in our body, other hormonal responses, other effects that are, again, more harmful. So this is one. And at the same time, yes, the healthcare system also maybe has created a type of education where we have very skilled doctors, specialists, but they're very vertically skilled in their own specific knowledge. So, for example, when it comes to, I don't know, heart specialists. Yes, they're very, very skilled into understanding everything related to the heart. But then if you as a patient go there and then have a specific issue, they are maybe not able to really look at the whole other.
Yeah, I think the idea is trying to be holistic with your health and
Yes.
being able to, you know, if you're having a symptom, being able to link it to something that might not be physical, but something that is based on your intolerances or your mental health. And so being able to see it as like a whole picture is, I think, where healthcare is going more and more to solve chronic disease. I think also with what you were saying, there's also with chronic diseases and women, to bring it back to women a little bit, clinical trials were only done on white males until the 90s. So there's a big gap in knowledge in terms of the symptoms that a woman may have
Yes.
with the same chronic disease as a man. So some interesting data as well is it takes 4 times longer for a woman to be diagnosed with a chronic disease than a man, because
it takes 4 times longer for a woman?
For a woman to be diagnosed with the same chronic disease as a man.
Interesting.
Because her symptoms might be different. And up until the 90s, the symptoms that were studied for a certain chronic disease were only studied on a man. So sometimes you might be faced with a provider who is looking at you and, you know, based off his knowledge on terms of what he's been taught, the chronic diseases that are linked, the symptoms that are linked to the chronic disease that he's thinking about are not the symptoms you may be sharing, but that's because women were only part of the picture after the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's women in Western countries, not even women in this area. So there's a big gap in knowledge as well when it comes to the symptoms linked to chronic diseases and, you know, any disease really, because of that.
Absolutely interesting. And we also live in a very particular area of the world here, no? Where again nowadays we have more open talks about female health, but again, maybe it's still kind of not really discussed in the open eye, in the open public, or also just between females themselves, especially when it comes to the more traditional Emirati or Arabic culture. So, what do you think is your experience as yourself and as NAPTA clinic? The case as of now. So how's it been? Is there still some taboo talks? Is there more awareness also in the Emirati Arabic world? And what is the difference that you have experienced as opposed to the traditional international type of female health approach?
I think there is a little bit of a misconception. So I'm Lebanese. I'm not from this area, but I'm close enough. And I think NAPTA was created to kind of create a safe space to have those open conversations. So it might not be that we're having them, you know, in the same way than in the West, but I think women in this region are empowered, and I think they are just as switched on and want to kind of take ownership of their health. It's just about providing them with the right environment for that. So, yes. You know, we are a women's health company. Of course, we know that a woman is linked to her husband and to her children, and also women are actually the main decision maker for their family's health as well. So I'm sure you will have experienced someone dragging their husband to go see a doctor or dragging their kids to go see a doctor and then putting themselves last. So what we want to do is also be able to say, it's great that you care about the people around you, but you also need to put yourself first. So I think that's more of what we're trying to encourage women from this area and this region to do, is to kind of, of course, care for their family and their husbands, and also NAPTA is a space for their families. Our doctors are also able to see children and men, but the main philosophy is we want the woman to put herself first as well. So
yes, beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know that NAPTA Health is actually organizing recurrently Majlis on a weekly basis, and I think we have the next one next
June.
week, exactly before the season, the summer season starts. And actually, for who's listening, if it's now too late, we're gonna have other talks starting from after the summer on a consistent basis. It's usually
on a monthly basis.
Monthly basis.
And we encourage women who are in healthcare, but also who are just interested in, taking ownership on their health and just meeting people that are like-minded to come into the clinic. It's usually on a Monday night.
Monday night?
Yes. And there's always food and drinks.
At what time?
Usually around 6 or 7, depending on the weather.
Amazing. So after work, female, Majlis, meet up, NAPTA clinic.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good. And yes, well,
how about with beauty treats? How do you find people's approach to it? Is it something that is used to kind of replace a sugar craving? Like, what is the usual, I guess, main usage of your products?
So, well, it's a very interesting topic because I think more and more again nowadays we have female that are generally more health aware, and of course most of us, we want to just feel good, look good, and be healthy because again we want to lose weight, we want to also aesthetically look nice. So these are the generally main needs and wants from the female population. But at the same time, there is also more concerns that are happening, especially when it comes to digestive concerns. So as you also mentioned initially, it's one of the rampant type of diseases. So many of the customers that we have are coming to us asking exactly what the type of ingredients we have, because most of them struggle with specific digestive concerns, from leaky gut to IBS to Crohn's disease to gluten intolerance, or even worse, celiac disease. So it's not just a matter of general need of being healthy and well-being, but it's more of now I really need to be careful of what I put in my body, because otherwise my body is reacting to it. And this is a really more delicate conversation, and I see that I'm happy to see that somehow with our brand we are trying to give a solution to these people that are struggling more with digestive issues, because again the products that we have do not use the three main type of most inflammatory ingredients, which are sugar, gluten, and seed oils. So we skip all of that. We do not use any preservatives, any emulsifiers, any additives. So we try to keep our products as clean as possible. So as close to their natural state as possible, despite the fact that we are packaging them, and despite the fact that they have now a good limited shelf life, but yes, they are still natural and they do not have any additives. So I think yes, there is more awareness in the female population to wanting this type of foods, exactly because it's out of their needs. They just have to look more into this. And when it comes to snacking, it's a very interesting aspect because, again, especially here in the UAE, most of the local population loves to snack and loves desserts and loves sweets, but this is actually the most dangerous time during the day where we are actually exposing our body to inflammation, because if on an empty stomach we have absorption of gluten and sugars. That's where we have the highest impact on our gut, on the inflammation of the membrane of our internal gut lining, and this is how then we have what is called also the trespassing of the toxins and the food toxins or other toxins that we're absorbing through the gut lining, and then they go through the different organs and affect the rest of our body. So it's not just related to, again, blood glucose spike, but also to inflammation on a wider level. And so we have to be able to understand on a smarter, like how to snack smarter. It's not about, okay, let's skip snacks and have just main meals. It's just, okay, if I still feel the need for something tasty, something sweet, something savory outside my main meals, why do I have to restrict myself? No, I can have that. I maybe sometimes we are very busy. We're not really able to have full-on meals, and then we need to be able to tap into something that is actually quick and affordable and easy to have. But at the same time, I don't want it to harm my digestive system. So what is it? Okay, it's something that is packed with fibers, packed with fats, but does not have any gluten nor sugar, and then it's very nutritious for my digestive system, and then it's going to help me to perform better also in a cognitive mental state. So I'm also thinking in this
Like when you try to talk something.
Hello.
No, not to the mic, like just like.
Oh, hello. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Have a sip of my coffee.
How's it going?
Good.
All right. Yeah? Good.
3, 2, 1, action.
Amazing. And when it comes to type of diseases that you have seen so far at your clinic, what would you say are the main reasons that women come to you? And have you also seen any difference from, again, expats and Emirati or Arabic women?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the types of chronic diseases or diseases in general that people from this region versus people from the West might have, the differences are based off of environmental and genetic predispositions, and then also, of course, lifestyle. So, for example, it's quite interesting. You talk about cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, for example. Here, diabetes type 2 is quite prevalent, much more than in Europe, for example. But then heart attacks are much lower here compared to numbers in Europe. So again, that will be based off of lifestyle, what we're eating, how quickly the city or the region might have developed, and then also genetics. Something else in terms of cancers, for example, that we see, breast cancer is much less prevalent in this region compared to Europe. But then you'll have higher cancers when it comes to, liver or your urinary tract. So again, genetics play a very big part, and then lifestyle definitely as well. In terms of why women come to NAPTA, I think it's to be able to have that one-stop shop feeling where you come in and you can do all your appointments in one place and feel like it's not clinical and feel like people actually know you and your doctor calls you by your name. And one thing that I love to show people when they come into the clinic also is all of the rooms where you're meeting with your doctor or your nutritionist or a psychologist. The table is a round table with 2 chairs that are the equal height. And it was quite important for us because we want to feel like when you're walking in, you're not just being fed information and receiving it on the other side. You're actually an equal decision maker and also an equal partaker in your decision for what you want to do in terms of your health and your long-term, how do you say, just your proactivity when it comes to your health. Your doctor is here to be, the the feeder of information, but you should be also feel like you're an equal in your
Yes.
decision making. So it's just maybe a more holistic way of taking ownership of your health, and that's why women like to come to NAPTA, and we hope we can kind of provide that experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to hormonal balance, hormonal imbalance, do you feel this is also a more common concern? What has been your experience with that? And
So I think, so I'm not a doctor. I don't have that specific information of, what we're seeing in the clinic, and I probably couldn't really share the detail, but there definitely is, high fertility concerns in this region based off of genetics as well. Diabetes will always affect, and high sugar levels will affect your fertility levels. So there is a high correlation between those two.
Yeah.
Something else that we see in this region is iron deficiency and vitamin D deficiency.
Yes.
You would
Huge
think that
ones.
people are here sun tanning, but it's too hot sometimes, so people are actually more indoors than they might be in Western countries. So that's definitely one big thing that also affects your fertility levels. Vitamin D and iron are big players in that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, interesting. And again, if you know, of course, I'm just throwing out what can be some interesting topics, and maybe sometimes a bit more taboo now here, especially. What happens, or how is your experience when it comes to pregnancy pill and abortion and STD, sexually transmitted diseases?
So what's your question? Sorry.
Have you experienced in your clinic? Is this also something that you do you take care of? Have you seen requests or interest from your patients also too?
I can't answer that because it's a bit. It would break like the how do you say, like doctors can't share that information to the thing, so I can't speak for that.
Of course. So
maybe we don't ask, because I personally don't have the answer.
Of
as
course.
well.
Okay. Well, it's just
it's a great question, by the way. What I can talk about is, we are hoping to have an HPV vaccine that we can
Very nice.
give to our patients. There also is new technology when it comes to HPV testing.
Yes.
Which, is usually quite an uncomfortable thing to do at the doctors.
Yes.
It's a bit, it's a little bit painful. And we're always looking for new devices that you can do in the privacy of your own home. So hopefully we will
Very
have
nice.
access to that, where we can give that to our patients to actually collect that piece, and then be able to give it to your doctor without having to come in. And so I think, that's
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This is already a very interesting
Yeah.
thing to know. And okay, when it comes to, again, other improved diagnostics or screenings or type of different approaches that you are that we're exposed to nowadays because of advancement and new research and science, what is out there now?
Yeah.
What are the trending or best new latest solutions that we can?
I love this question, because although we talk about very scary statistics, I think also science is super promising, and there's so much out there that is a good light of hope that we're actually being able to become superhumans almost, it seems. I think one good advancement obviously is all the treatments around PCOS. It was almost a mysterious topic. People didn't really know. It takes ages to even be told by your gynecologist that you do have PCOS, and there are treatments with specific birth control pills now where that can treat your PCOS, but also non-hormonal options, which are food and gut related, that can also impact. And there's a lot of advancement happening with that, which is a great relief for lots of women, because there's a great number of women that suffer with PCOS without even knowing they have PCOS. So being able to treat it is just the first frontier of being able to eventually tell someone much earlier on that they have it.
Yes.
Other advancements, all the medical tracking devices for fertility really empower women to be able to not always rush to the doctor first thing and be able to, make things happen at home first and then be able to come in with information and I guess an equal knowledge base of their own body. Another amazing advancement is in, menopause management, hormonal and non-hormonal. Menopause also is one of those things that has been a big taboo in all countries, West and East. And I think even in terms of understanding it and also the length of it, because it's kind of a mystery. I know my mom asked her mom how long she had menopause for, and she told her it was a year. And then actually it could be a 10-year process. And there's a generational gap, but also even a medical gap where it's very hard for a doctor to be able to tell if you might be perimenopausal at 45 or 50 or even 40 if you had kids very early on. So treatments to kind of deal with the symptoms are a huge relief, and there's a big stride towards that in the medical space, but also in the corporate world. There is a lot of work being done on a legislative base in Europe, and I'm sure it will come here as well, to encourage women to stay in the workforce for longer, because lots of women will actually leave when their menopause symptoms become so bad that they don't feel like they can actually do their job properly. And protecting women to ensure that they stay in the workforce and they actually have the space and also the support from their employers to stay is also very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And pregnancy instead. I'm not sure if you want to disclose your age. I'm now 34.
I'm 29.
20, oh, see, so young. But now in my age, I have many friends in my social circle that are actually now facing pregnancy. And again, here it's lived maybe a bit in a different way than our Western world. I come from Italy. But again, how is it approached here
in terms of decision making for being pregnant?
Decision making, exactly, for being pregnant, and also the type of assistance that women receive here when pregnant.
Yeah. So actually, when this comes out, we will actually have announced something very exciting, which I'll share with you today. We actually are the first, we've developed a product with Fakih University Hospital, which will be the first midwife-led pregnancy product, which means that we will actually be able to provide women with a multi-specialty approach to giving birth, in terms of having a midwife and a doctor gynecologist there, which is super exciting. I think a lot of people see the huge benefit of having a midwife be there as your advocate as well throughout your pregnancy, even before wanting to get pregnant, all the way up to D-Day, and being able to have that with Fakih University Hospital is super exciting. But yeah, I think there's a big movement also towards having that extra support. And having someone that really knows you from the beginning of your journey all the way through to giving birth. Yeah,
exactly, absolutely.
Yeah,
interesting. And how do you see has the general approach again in diagnosing or easing up the whole work process with the introduction of AI in your application, in your platform?
I think it empowers women to be able to understand their body, so that when they are sitting with the doctor, they ask the right questions. They also can advocate for themselves because they have the information that's actually, evidence-based information. And it's not there to challenge the doctor, but it's there to be able to, give you more information on yourself, so that you can also, a woman has a great gut feeling and everything, but being able to also know, the data that's linked to what you might be feeling, and even suggest to the doctor, either way, I read this, what do you think? It might be something that hasn't even crossed the doctor's mind. Allows you to then have a much more productive conversation as well. That's one thing. The second thing is that women have so little time in their day, especially if they're raising a family and they have a full-time job. And they might not always have the time to go see someone. And being able to have access to information that is, evidence-based allows them to be able to be proactive and preventative without, just needing to go to a doctor and then action whatever may need actioning, like a diet change or you know, getting an appointment with the right specialist. Maybe it's not a GP you need to see, it's a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And so kind of, again, empowering women to be able to figure that out quicker in the comfort of their own home as well.
Yes. Interesting. Good. Okay. When it comes to general, let's say, relationship of men with women with men, is this also something that you
Definitely. So I
take
think
care of?
we always say we're a women's company, but the idea is, for example, with everything around perinatal care, we encourage men to come into the clinic with their wives or girlfriends and actually come into the lactation consultation and learn how to feed the baby, for example, or the sleep consultation. You know, a woman isn't doing this alone. We're very aware that, you know, she has the support of the man with her, and being able to also educate the man on the care that the woman might need, or everything around menopause, for example.
Yes.
We always say that, you know, menopause doesn't just happen to a woman, it's also happening to her partner. And
True.
him being as informed as she is would only help the process of being able to deal with the symptoms. So we're
Yes.
never trying to shadow the man away. We actually want to include him to be able to actually, you know, improve
Yes.
just that relationship as well.
Yeah, I really think exactly that being a space where you enable and ease up the conversation
Yeah.
and the communication between men and women is the best practice to
Yeah.
really solve so many issues
And mysteries and-
mysteries,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
and
yeah.
also things that again until now also were very taboo,
Yeah.
especially just for ourselves as women,
Yeah.
and even more so when it comes to talking
Yeah.
with our partner. So
Yeah.
yes, this is very interesting.
I remember when I was living in London, we had a CSR day, and it was around menopause. And the most impressive speaker was actually the head of the police department in London. And he came and spoke about his wife's experience with menopause and how actually he became the menopause champion of the police department. And we were all just so blown away because, you know, he didn't have to take that upon himself, but also once one man kind of finds something interesting and makes it his own, like, kind of purpose to share that within his whole organization, which the police force is a heavily masculine
Oh, yes.
corporation, just the amount of energy that goes behind it. So we aren't trying to, you know, keep this a separate issue. The more people have a voice and the more people actually are informed about it, the more we're actually going to improve the woman's experience with whatever symptoms she might be having. So
Yes.
I think it's quite powerful to be able to
Yes.
not corner people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, exactly, opening up this space for conversation is a very interesting thing also for men to maybe be more, not just more knowledge, but also more emotionally aware and able to experience and
Yeah.
open up.
Yes.
Because the female world is a world that is very emotionally
Yeah.
present, and it's also much more emotionally wide than
Yeah.
the male world, just because again our hormones have a
speak
different
more, yeah.
concentration than
Yes.
than
Yeah.
male people. So exactly, we feel more, we experience more, we have different hormonal reactions, and I think that being able to create and have a more open conversations with men and
Yeah.
let them also be more vulnerable is the first getaway to really enhance their own experience
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very, very nice. Where do you see is the female health world going here in the UAE?
I think
terms of
there's so
healthcare.
many advancements. There's so much energy behind improving female health. I mean, just this year, one of the big strategic goals for the UAE is to decrease women's cancer rates and improve women's health, specifically women's health. So there is a lot of energy, and everyone is incentivized to do so. Not only that, but also make sure women are in positions where they are being able to grow as leaders in businesses as well. So I think it's a very exciting time in the UAE for females, but also female health. So
What do you see is the most common type of cancer when it comes to women? Is it breast cancer, or do you see?
yeah, so in general, like globally, it's breast cancer, but I think I don't actually have the right information for here, but breast cancer is always one. It's actually one of the most treatable ones, but one that might actually go untreated for long, undetected for long, and then be the biggest killer as well. So it's a double-edged sword, really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to your journey and how did you go into Nabta Health, what is your own reason? How do you?
I guess I moved to Dubai last year, and I was working a finance job, so something very different.
Oh yes.
That I actually felt quite far away from in terms of purpose. And I'm one of 4 girls, so I have female health happening at home.
One
all
of
the
4
time.
girls in the
Yes,
family.
in the family.
Amazing.
My paternal grandfather was a pathologist, and my grandma was a nurse, and I think moving here, I really wanted to get closer to, what I genuinely believe, care about, and can get behind, and really make an impact. And I was following Sophie and what she was doing for a very long time. And when I met her and I kind of heard where she was going with NAPTA, I really wanted to make an impact. And I really believe that there's so much more we can be doing. And it feels like I'm doing it for my sisters, I'm doing it for my mom, I'm doing it for my friends.
Yes.
And it's a very just peaceful feeling to know that you're working for an organization that's actually doing something to improve women and women's health, but also make it more accessible.
Yes.
That's the main thing, is that we want it to be accessible and not to be something that is a luxury that's only developed for a certain percentage of the population. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Where do you see Nabta Health going in the next year?
We're hoping we can expand to Saudi Arabia. We are hoping we can acquire a couple more clinics in Dubai to make it more geographically accessible as well. So hopefully by the next year, we'll have many more clinics here and in Saudi.
So you want to kind of localize more, like decentralize, but also make it more physically accessible. And at the same time also open the door to Saudi.
Exactly. And I think also with that, we are developing a research institute that will be based in Saudi Arabia, where we will be running research on women of this region. And I think that will be really powerful to then plug back into our clinics, so we have real data from women in this region.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to read all the data you will have found.
I'll be sharing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of wrap up our conversation, and I'm just going to ask you directly 3 main questions, and let's see how you want to answer to that.
Sure.
So the first question is, again, taking the whole experience that you've had so far, your knowledge, the people that you've exposed to, what is one advice that you would give to your younger self?
I would say, trust the process. Things work themselves out.
Beautiful. Thank you. What is that one advice that you would like to give to the next generation?
Wow. I would say, and they already do it so well, but to take care of our planet. I think that next generation is going to be the generation that will be the most aware, but in case they need reminding, that's what I would say.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you think they're already doing that?
Yeah, I think they're the most vocal generation. They're fearless. And yeah, I think they also have access to so much information that they're able to kind of get to what's the priority much faster than maybe our generation, the generation before did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, final question. Okay, if we have to sum it up in one sentence, what would be your life lesson that you want to share with the crowd, with the people today?
Life lesson, and then I want to hear yours.
I was not ready for that.
My life lesson. I think I really believe in good karma. So I think good things happen to good people. So that's kind of my life lesson.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think maybe you're sensing the energy of the space that we were sharing before
Yeah.
with the other speaker,
Oh, really?
because we had a similar answer.
Really?
But
Interesting.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes.
Great.
Thank
What
you for
about
sharing
yours?
that.
Do you have one?
Yes. And this is now maybe what is coming to my mind just now, because
Yeah.
we're in this together. But I think one life lesson would be love yourself first.
Yeah.
And I think we are so exposed to everything that happens around us, and we always want to try to do better, be better, and compare ourselves to whatever is happening around. And we fear so much maybe judgment from the outside. At the same time, it's, helping us to elevate ourselves, but at the same time, we kind of miss the whole purpose of why are we here sometimes. And it's firstly understanding our own deeper self and being able to love it. And only this way we will then be able to really take care of who is around us, our family, the people we are surrounded with.
Definitely.
And so this is a very big word.
Nice. I agree.
Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you for
time.
having
It has
me.
been a beautiful conversation, and I really hope that we were able to open a bit more the space and the time for, again, female health and talking about female topics. And yes, looking forward to meeting you and seeing you again at Napta Health Clinic, and maybe have a general female gathering also at one of your next majalis after
we
the
should
summer.
definitely do that. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you so much.